Welcome to a new episode of Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid Ahmed. Hey guys, welcome back to a new episode of Hacks and Hobbies. Today I'll be talking about the many different hobbies, including ones I haven't talked about, as well as give an update on the last inspection I did over the weekend for the bees. So I got to inspect the bees after quite some time. I think it had been another 4 weeks. Not the right kind of um, break you want between inspecting bees and not inspecting them. You want to inspect at least every week, every 10 days, 11 days. I had a lot of things going on. The weekends either got rained out, there was an event, or I was traveling. I did manage to do two feedings during that 2 week period, so they were getting sugar water and getting a move on. So that's good. Of course, the bottles that I had put in there were completely empty and they had closed up all the holes with propolis because there's nothing coming through. They're like, oh, this hole, we don't need to go in there, just close it up. So now I gotta go clean those holes up so I have the sugar water set up for them next time around. I was only able to inspect the Alexandria hive, and that took about an hour and a half. Didn't have enough time to uh, go into inspecting Saskatraz. Maybe tomorrow I can inspect Saskatraz since tomorrow is Eid al-Adha. I'll be taking a day off and spending it with the fam. Alright, so the update on Alexandria. Going through the hive, I found there's at least 8 frames full of honey, capped honey that is. I can harvest that if I wanted to. There's some dark honey, there's some light honey, there's all sorts of good stuff in there. I could totally harvest it, but I am reluctant. Maybe I can harvest 1 frame. I don't think it'd be too bad. Last time I checked, there was at least 4 or 5 frames, so they've added 3 more frames of full honey. And I believe I had taken 1 frame of honey or nectar out from Alexandria and gave it to Saskatraz. Something else that I found was we had put in some dryer sheets between the 2 frames or cleaner sweep sheets to trap some of the beetles, and of course it was also full of propolis as well as some body parts of bees and body parts of I just didn't have it was supposed to be taken out about a week later, and of course I didn't. So something that you might not want to do is put a sheet in there to trap beetles and not go back a week later. It's got a ton of propolis, so I took out those things as well, put them in a little jar, and that jar is going in the freezer. One thing they say to remove propolis, you need to freeze it because if you heat it, it's gonna become gooey. Freezing it makes it hard and brittle, and then you can just crack it off. Last time I tried to remove propolis from these bottles, I put them in hot water, and that was just a mess. It got on everything. Um, I try to contain it. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm doing with the jars and the dryer sheets that I took out. I keep calling them dryer sheets, but they're actually Swiffer dust sheets. They're like microfiber type stuff that you use to clean, and they're pretty sturdy, so bees can't really do much with it. Although there was a little piece totally gone, so I'm not sure how the bees managed to do that. It was a rectangle sheet that I had put in there, and what I got out was a triangular sheet. Uh, so it was interesting to see. So 8 frames of honey. The bees are doing great. I also saw the queen bee, and this time around I was able to take lots of photos, some videos, some time-lapse video as I was going through the hive. So the top box is all honey and nectar, and looked like they were drawing out more comb towards the ends and filling them up with nectar as well. The next box down, I found, of course, there's I have semi-sphere shape in each frame, and then on the top corners there's honey, in the middle there's brood. So brood, middle brood, then there's nectar, and then there's honey. So that's what I found in most of the outer edge frames in the second box, and in the middle of the frame I saw lots of brood, capped brood, and the bees look great. The queen bee is doing an excellent job. She's laying eggs in all those empty cells. In the last box, found lots of brood and lots of larvae, even nectar, bee bread. And I'm like, why is bee bread down here? Of course, they need lots and lots of bee bread to feed for the upcoming bees, the upcoming winter bees that are forming right now. And bee bread is the primary source of protein for bees. So the bees eat the bee bread, and then they're able to produce a royal jelly. That royal jelly becomes the food for all the new bees that will be coming up. I do need to research more what to feed them for winter. So I will be making 2-to-1 sugar water since we are now in August, going into September. And that's when fall is kind of starts. It's still end of summer and beginning of fall. So I'll be making some 2-to-1 sugar water, and this sugar water is great for them for the winter, or getting ready for winter time essentially. So that will be the next step. I have 50 pounds of sugar, so I'll be taking 25 pounds of sugar and adding 12.5 pounds of water to it. That will be 2-to-1 sugar water concentrate, and will be super sweet. So that's my update on the bees. Tomorrow I will take a look at Saskatraz and see how they're doing, see if they've collected any honey or not. They were a little slow on the get-go. They are um, a little more foreign than the Alexandria bees because they are much more local. So yeah, that's it for the bees. Next, I'll be talking about the other hobbies I had mentioned that I haven't talked about yet. So stick around. Hey, welcome back. Or should I say, thanks for sticking around. So the next part I wanted to talk about were the many different hobbies that I did not mention. One of them is, of course, um, virtual reality. Well, I don't know if I should say of course, but over the weekend we had some guests over and I let them try out virtual reality. And the one game that I set up for them, which is really fun to watch with people around, is Richie's Plank Experiment. And in this game, in this virtual reality setup, you're basically at a in a world set up in front of an elevator. I'm like, why are you in front of an elevator? So you turn around, you go inside the elevator, you press the different buttons where you want to go to. So there's a plank, you press the plank, and then you're basically taken up 80 stories high in this. And as soon as the door opens, there's a plank that you have to walk. Now, to make the experience more realistic, you basically bring a real plank, a wooden plank. So I had a 6 foot long, 6 by 6 inches by 6 foot long plank that I set up in the real world. The application lets you measure the plank so it knows exactly where it is and how tall, how long it is, so you can feel a real plank in virtual reality. And you're basically stepping out on this plank and you get to see the sky and how high you are from the ground. And it's really daunting. And some of the people tried it and they were like, "Wow, this is awesome." They walked on the plank. They were not scared of the heights. One other guy, he's like, "I can't do heights." And so when he tried it, he's like, "All right, let me give this a shot." Because everybody can see on the computer screen what they're seeing, what the user or the player wearing the goggles, VR goggles, is doing. And it's a totally different experience. You have 360 degrees of VR world around you, and you can just turn your head and see where you are. And so we are able to see what they're doing, but we have a limited window of what they see, or we only see what they're seeing, and not what it's totally it's a different experience. Okay, so um, so this dude, he puts it on. He's like, "Wow, this is awesome." So he pressed the elevator button and to go up to the plank. The doors open and he's looking out. He's just peeking out. And he's like, "Oh my God, I am not stepping out onto that plank. No, sir, thank you." And he presses the ground button and comes back down. I'm like, wow. All right, you are scared of heights. Absolutely, that is true. Okay, so he had mentioned that I don't do heights. This is not my thing. this is not gonna happen. Then we had these guys I'm talking about, they're my wife's cousins. And then I was like, so the older brother was like, let's call my dad in. He loves technology. He's gonna love this virtual reality, and I've been thinking of getting it for him. It's like, all right, sure. Let's bring him down. So I went up, had him come down, and I'm like, all right, Uncle, you gotta try this out. This is a plank experience. You put on these goggles, and you're in a virtual world, and you get to try this out. So I had him try it out. He was like, "All right, what do you do?" Like, "All right, you just press the button, to go up to the plank." And he goes up to the plank. It's like, "Nope, I'm not stepping out on this thing either." It's very real, right? And so Uncle is a psychologist, and he's like, can this cause seizures? I'm like, well, the initial version, the version one of the Oculus, I believe, had a low um, refresh rate, which did cause people motion sickness. But they've gone past that. It doesn't cause those problems anymore. He was very impressed. I wanted to set up some other games for him. There's a destinations game where you can visit Mars, where the lunar landed. Not the lunar, the Mars rover landed, and you could see the different tracks. There's a lot of informational stuff, but the computer was acting up, or the games were not loaded. So he said, next time he comes, he's gonna do some more exploration. So yeah, it was an excellent experience. So that's one of my hobbies. And Uncle mentioned you have some really interesting hobbies: beekeeping, virtual reality. I'm like, yeah. And then of course when he was in the office, he saw the microphone, and he's like, why are these two, three microphones in here? What's going on? And then his son mentioned, well, he also does a podcast. Like, wow, you do really have some interesting hobbies. Um, I haven't had a chance to set up my office yet, so I want to talk about that next up. So stick around if you want to learn what those things are. So next thing I wanted to talk about is, hey, I can't remember anymore, but yeah. So I wanted to talk about setting up my office. My office is not set up yet. There's been a lot of different things happening. I've wanted to put up some more pictures up. Well, I've got these really cool Mars posters from the National Geographic, and I wanted to put them up, but I haven't had a chance. There's still a few boxes left that need to be emptied. I've got to build out a shelf where I can put up put away my electronics, my camera gear, and other things. I have a box full of cables that I would like to sort out. Um, so lots of different things, and I just realized I have not been able to spend a lot of time on it because I'm trying to fix my computer every single time I'm down there, right? I'm either playing a game, which is fine, but the other times I'm trying to fix this Hackintosh. This Hackintosh that I've spent hours and hours on, trying to make sure that it keeps running. And the last update that I did totally screwed it up. It's been down. And I'm thinking, do I really need to keep this charade up? I mean, should I just go and buy a Mac Pro? That way I can just come, dump my media, start working on it, and be on the go. Yesterday, I did a video interview shoot, and there's a total of 7 short videos that I need to put together. I used a 2 camera setup. One camera was on the slider with the Rhino arc and Rhino motion, and the other camera was stationary. And I took this idea from master classes. All the master classes I've watched, they've done similar setup. They've got a main camera pointing directly at the interviewer or the interviewee, and they're looking directly into that camera. The second camera does a side pose, does a little slider motion, and it just looks clean. So all the video came out pretty clean. I could have used brighter lights. I could have set up a little differently. But of course, this is my first time around. Not first time around doing an interview, but first time around doing this kind of 2 camera setup. So I will. So I need to produce these videos. You need to, get them out there, and then I can, of course, send an invoice to the client. Like, hey, here's the time that I spent on, we spent together setting up the cameras, shooting, and here's the final product that's edited. So this is how much it's going to be, etc. So I'm thinking, what do I do? Or I could just use my Windows PC, which has been very slow lately, and it's annoying the heck out of me. I've got super fast hard drives, right? I got SSD. I've got 64 gigs of RAM. It's a 6-core, 12-thread Z Intel i7 processor. So I've got all the power in there, but the only thing is I would have to use Adobe Premiere. Now, Adobe Premiere is an excellent software. There's a ton of people that use it, but just to load it took forever. And I'm thinking, do I need to reimage the Windows operating system on the new drive? What should I do? It's just so annoying when this stuff happens. I like stuff to just work. And I've been contemplating, should I get a Mac Pro? Should I get a MacBook Pro 2018, which is as fast as a 2013 Mac Pro, 6-core? Um, I think it's faster. The MacBook Pro i7 6-core is faster than the Mac Pro 6 cores from 2013 with dual video cards. That part, I gotta go back to the benchmarks and see. Of course, they both will cost around $2,500. So where do I spend the money? Do I get a MacBook Pro that I can take with me anywhere and do edits? Or do I get a Mac Pro that stays in the office? That way I spend time in the office focusing on the work. So anyways, those are some of the questions that I'm mulling over and thinking about, and some of the things, some of the struggles that I've got going on. So anyways, that's the next part of things that I'm working on and trying to get things set up. So this could be more regular thing. So far, all of these episodes that you've been listening to, I've recorded them using the Anchor FM app on the iPad, and I'm using a USB headphone that does an excellent job. I've got an iPad USB adapter that connects to this microphone. It's a headset microphone, so I don't have to worry about holding it or being close to it since it's part of my head. Anyways, those are some of the things that are happening in the life of Junaid. And thanks for listening, guys. We will. I'll come back with a new episode in a couple of days, and I'll give you an update on how Saskatraz is doing. If I ended up harvesting any of the honey at all. I haven't heard back from my beekeeper mentor about my question about should I harvest the honey or not. So we'll give you an update on those things. Again, thanks for listening. Please feel free to send a message to @SuperJunaid on Twitter or leave a message using the Anchor app. The Anchor app lets you leave voice messages to me for this podcast that I can then respond to and even include your voice on here. So feel free to do that. Thanks again for listening and subscribing. More content to come, more goodness to come. Thanks, guys. Bye.